Hello, everybody. Today I'm here with Bobby Rowan. And hi, Bob. How are
How
you?
you doing, Neil? Good
I'm
morning.
good. I'm happy to be talking with you.
I'm
Listen,
happy to be talking to you.
normally I start off and I ask people about their favorite teacher or something, but I think with you, I really love if we could start off by talking about your family. You're right in the middle of 9 kids. How was that growing up? What was like life? What was life like?
I could give you the early feelings about how I felt as the first male, but the number five. But I'm going to give you my version of my perspective of today. I was, for the most part, with four older sisters, treated like a prince, spoiled rotten. Nothing could be said about Bob that was negative. I was really, and in many ways, I was aware of that even when I was younger. So it was a crowded household. It was a loud household. Everyone was always talking. There, that was it. But for me, it was a pretty good way to grow up. To this day, you see remnants of that when someone might say something vaguely critical, and a sister who might be there would jump in defense. And I'm looking like, it's okay, Barbara, back down. Trisha, leave her alone, So it was a pretty good life. And I got to tell you, I don't know how my mother did it, but I do know how my father did it. A giant in my life. He was a police officer in Yonkers, and he, for much of my growing up, was this giant, blonde-haired, blue-eyed Viking. I didn't, I knew vaguely we were supposed to be Irish American, but so he was great. He was a prince, and he was a hero in my world.
So I guess that means that you grew up in an idyllic situation and there were never any problems.
There was hell. Yes, it was. Yeah, it was. Yes, I guess that's the problem with looking at it backwards. You tend to gloss over some of the chaos and some of the problems. I had my problems, and discipline was both verbal and physical, at least with my father, such that when I knew when I got older, I would never use that kind of discipline on my children, and my son never saw it, and I'm happy for that. But my father had to go for a second job when I was about 11. So I kind of lost him in what I thought was the life. So I barely saw him. And what happened was, when I was acting out, he'd come home exhausted from literally 16 hours of work, trying to get 4 or 5 hours of sleep. And my mother would report to him what I did wrong, which would get him riled up. And, so anyway, no, there were a lot of problems that.
So let me ask a question. It seems like that sort of gets us to you eventually getting to Gorton High School. Because when you were in Gorton High School, how was it there?
Well, I came to Gorton as a sophomore. I had insisted to my parents that I was going to go to another Catholic high school that cost them money every month, and I did not produce. Imagine that. I think if I had so I came to Gorton as a sophomore, and I really kind of felt out of it. And I also went there knowing that I had failed a course, and that would mean I actually failed it in class at Cardinal Spellman and in summer school, and I knew I'd be taking it now for my third time. I was feeling like an outsider there. I didn't realize until later that a lot of you, it didn't occur to me, a lot of you who were there knew each other from maybe all the way back to grade school, or at least junior high school. So but somehow I managed to worm my way in by being a bit of a
fun guy,
clown, fun guy, a party guy. I don't know why, but I was adopted by the class of '65 guys, and I was doing a lot of stuff with them, running around and getting served at Rusnack's and at Gray Oaks, 50 years old. So,
So here you are, you finished Gorton High School, and you had a number of friends in Gorton. And I want to pick up on that friendship thing, because I know about 20 years ago, you joined the Freemasons and you had a lot of friends there. Tell me, what was Freemasons like? Sort of, what was most important? Did they have a motto or something?
well, when I finally said to a good friend who was one, I said, seriously, all jokes aside, John, I said, instead of us making those goofy signals at you like we think are secret symbols, what is this whole thing about? He said, Bob, it's real simple. We try to make a good man better. And you don't just walk in and fill out an application and come in here. You're interviewed at your home. Your wife is interviewed if you're married. And we look to see if you have a job and if you have income, because we're not taking on financial responsibility.
So, Bobby, you said that when you were Freemason, somebody came up to you and wanted you to take on a bigger role.
Bobby Bell approached me at a Christmas party of all Masons and wives, and said to me, he's a retired state trooper, Coast Guard guy, and he said, I've had enough of this. You're going into the line. And I'm thinking, where's the line? I'm in the line for the dessert. You're going into the leadership line. He says, you've got the responsibility, and you're made to be a leader, and the lodge needs you.
So this is interesting, because if we fast forward a little bit to October 23rd, 2018, the combination of you being a leader at Masons and some pretty magical thing happened. What happened that day?
Well, by then I had been a junior steward. I was, this year, I'd be a master of the lodge.
But something else happened in terms
on
of
October 23rd, on October 23rd, having gone to a practice meeting and driven a brother home, I was coming home, and I would say that, alcohol was not denied at the lodge. A lot of guys would have a drink. I had reached a point in my life where it was more than one. I'm driving home, and I literally threw out a prayer, please help me, God. I can't do this on my own. I had tried to stop drinking several times and always failed, and with all good excuses. The next day said to Jackie, I need to stop, and I need help. Jackie said, let's look up, so I found my way into an AA meeting the very next day, actually. And then that Friday of that week, found my way over to a church meeting, at a meeting at a church, and where I've been a member. And this is where I began to learn several important values. I needed to learn to listen so I could listen to learn. And that's what's helped me. And these people there helped me, because I thought I needed rehab, and there was none available through the VA. It was
Hold on, wait. This is interesting. You mentioned the VA. I know we're not going to talk about when you were in the Air Force, but one of the things that happened because you were in the Air Force is that you did go to the VA. And I think the combination of you having leadership in Mason and being a listener and servant in AA sort of led to an important thing that happened one time when you went to the VA. Can you tell us briefly what happened with somebody?
Very recently, we were waiting to go pick up medication at the Brick Clinic, the VA clinic in Brick. And I watched a young, unfortunate, one of the guys, Afghanistan veteran. He was there with a service dog. He was very quiet, and this guy was brought into a meeting finally after being made to wait. And this little marionette or whatever, martinet, so whatever you call this nasty little VA nurse, said something to him on the way back to his meeting. And the guy, this young VA veteran, answered. And I went after this guy. I said, this
is interesting. You went after him because you saw yourself as an upstander. You weren't going to just sit by and watch. You actually said, I have to take this on. And that was really impressive when you did this. you took something else on as well. Um, you mentioned about Jackie being your wife and the most important and best decision ever. What about you, Jackie, and your dad? What happened there?
We used to, whenever we visited New York for family parties up there, we dropped Dad off, and I'd cry all the way home, driving back home to Jersey. Finally, in September of '87, Jackie said to me, "Why don't you ask him to come live with us?" And I was stunned, but I realized it's natural. I still love my father. I need him to not be alone living on Morningside Avenue,
Right.
with everybody all over this country and living. So I talked to him about it. He said, "Oh, I don't want to do that." And then the next day he was like, "Oh, when are you coming to pick me up?"
You know what?
So
That says so much about, you and Jackie and your dad. And I know that it ended up that you were together for 6 years before he
6 years.
died. And,
Yes.
one of the last things we wanted to talk about is, if there would be something you might say to your younger self, um, what would be something that you would say is important?
This is a magical thing to be able to, imagine being able to go back. But if I could go back, I would say to Bobby, little Bobby, you're valuable. Don't beat yourself up. Everyone makes mistakes. It's the ones who rise from the mistakes and move on and learn from it. And my mistakes, unfortunately, that's where it slowed me down and caused issues. But now I know it. I try to tell this to everyone, the veterans in our groups that I meet with on a weekly basis, the young guys, the old guys, and even in Lodge.
Is there
I
also
try to-
somebody special in your life that you want to make sure she knows that?
Thanks, Neil. I don't know if you can see this.
Oh, we can see Tilly.
That's Tilly and her 90-pound rescue dog. Tilly knows already at the age of 5 how valuable she is to us. I'll give you just one time we went to meet her after school, and I waited on the wall outside, and Jackie and Jared went to get her. And she saw me and came running like a track star to leap into my arms. I almost fell off the wall with her. She is loved, and she knows she's loved. And that's my mission in the next decade or whatever I've got left, is to always make sure she knows how valuable she is.
Bobby, that's a beautiful place to end. Thank you so much. This was really a delight. I look forward to, I hope you're feeling well enough so that you're at the reunion in June of 22, and everybody will be able to hug you and love you.
Love you, Neil. Take care. Thanks very much.
you
I'm
too.
aiming to be there.
This is great. Thank
Bye.
you.
All right.